Hey, this is Eli Campbell. You know, Steamboat is renowned worldwide for skiing, biking, and all that our natural playground has to offer. We're fortunate, though, that the natural beauty here attracts more than just outdoor enthusiasts. From local legends to world-class acts, amazing musicians regularly play the venues in our little corner of Northwest Colorado. Join me as I explore the stories and experiences of these talented artists who bring unforgettable performances to Steamboat. This is your Steamboat Sound Check.
Welcome to the Steamboat Sound Check podcast presented by McCreight Progressive Dentistry. We are continuing our series of featuring musicians that are going to be playing at this year's WinterWonderGrass Festival, February 28th through March 2nd. Really excited to be joined today by a man who has played a number of WinterWonderGrass stages with a lot of musicians, Kyle Tuttle. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Eli. Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for joining me. As I said, you are no stranger to the WinterWonderGrass family, and I want to get to that in just a little bit. But I actually wanted to start with something I read that you were giving an interview about this time last year, talking about New Year's resolutions. And you had said that for 2024, one of your goals was to play the banjo more simply for the fun of it instead of for the kind of professional career aspect of it. I'm curious how that resolution went for you and if you find yourself approaching the instrument differently when you're playing for the pure enjoyment instead of just professionally.
You know, man, Eli, I'm really glad that you reminded me of that resolution because I think it kind of fell by the wayside a little bit over the year. You know, I mean, I had an extremely busy year on the road, so I was playing the banjo all the time, you know, and that's why I remember saying that in the first place, is because when you're doing it, you know, it's just important to remember the relationship that you have with music. Like it's like anything. I think when you attempt to monetize a skill that any person has, if you've gained a skill because it's a passion of yours, not because you were going at it for the money, but when you put money on a passion, it's important to remember the relationship that you have with it and why you really have that relationship and not just for the job, you know. And that's why I said that last year, and that's why I'm saying it again right now.
Yeah, hopefully you'll have better luck sticking to it this year. Now, you're a national Bluegrass Banjo Champion. You're a Grammy Award winner as a member of Molly Tuttle and the Golden Highway. You're obviously extremely experienced. You're talented banjoist. But when you're playing just for fun, are you still able to find new things to explore, just kind of tinkering around with the instrument that you know so well?
I am, yeah, and I think that's the key to being able to find those things and sort of keep things fresh like that really is doing it for fun. I mean, that's another reason why I say it's important to maintain that relationship with the instrument, because when you go out and you do a show a whole bunch of times, and most of what you're playing is a show, you know, sort of you don't maybe take quite as many risks as you would otherwise take, and you just sort of play the things that you're used to playing. And yeah, when you play it for fun by yourself or with your friends, you know, just noodling around and also when you have a good practice routine, you're constantly finding those little new important avenues to try to say, oh, maybe I've been always playing it like this way, but maybe I could play it like this way, you know. And I think that's real valuable stuff to focus on, and it's easy to lose touch with.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, you're kind of talking about the fun versus the professional career aspect of it. You have an interesting quote on your website saying an attempt at putting a saddle on success can eat a person and wreck the things that they hold dear. And I think that's kind of what you're touching on here is as you get that success, maybe the fun element of something that you had that passion for starts to move away. With the awards and the accolades that you have won, how has your understanding of success kind of evolved through your career, and how are you balancing that ambition while preserving what's important to you?
I don't know, man. It seems like success is maybe an illusion, you know. I think that's what I've learned is that when you aren't experiencing what people call success, you feel anxiety that you're not experiencing it. And then when you are experiencing what people call success, you still feel this anxiety that at any moment it could all go away, or that it's not, you know, it's it's an illusion. I think success is an illusion. You still want to be better. You still want to do as good as you can, or at least for me, where I'm at, I still want to do better. I want to sound better. I want to play better. I want to have better shows. I want to, so.
Well, and I think there's probably plenty of people out there that would judge what you have gotten to where you are at is certainly successful. And that has started about 10 years ago for you solo with the release of the Bobcat album back in 2015. Beyond the evolution of your appearance from that album cover, which has quite a different look of younger Kyle Tuttle back then, how do you reflect on the musical journey that you've gone through over the last 10 years?
I think, how do I reflect on it? I don't know. I think maybe the biggest, I've done a lot of things. I've worked for a lot of different people. I say worked. I've played in a lot of different people's bands. I've been in many bands with many different band leaders. A lot of them were my friends. A lot of them were people that I just met more on a professional situation, not like someone that I knew before being in their band. But for me, the more true that I've been to what I really want to do, artistically, and the type of music that I really want to make, the more true I am to that, the more quote unquote success or whatever you want to call it I have experienced. Just trying to do it the way that I want to do it. You know what I mean? And maybe that success comes, maybe that illusion of success at that time comes because I feel good about the way it's happening. I feel good about what I'm performing, whether it's the actual songs themselves or just the type of arena that the type of arena that we're in, the type of people that are at the event, the type of respect that the music is treated with, the type of expectations on the music, like whether it's like, okay, we're in a situation now where we got to make sure there's no mistakes and everything's got to go off just right, versus okay, now we're in a situation where we're all going to sort of push the limits, and if someone makes a mistake, we're not gonna be upset about it, so it's great to have both. It's also worth saying, I think, that doing things one way or the other way all the time is also not the thing, So, and I've been very lucky, I think, in the 10 years to be able to sort of have a pretty wide spread. I get to play for the hippies and use plugged in wild banjo sounds, and then I get to go play more straight ahead bluegrass gigs and sort of stay with genre style boundaries of that music, and it's more, you treat that music a little bit differently in that you might even treat the same song differently at the Station Inn than you're going to treat that song on the WinterWonderGrass main stage, and I'm really lucky to get to participate in both of those.
Yeah.
Those things.
Well, and last year you released your third album, Labor of Lust, which was a project that spanned several years. So it kind of evolved and changed in and of itself. There were certainly some significant life events that you went through while that album was being made. One of the biggest was the music industry as a whole lost Jeff Austin of Yonder Mountain String Band, one of your mentors. You went through some personal hardships, and then the world was going through COVID, which hit everybody hard, but specifically touring musicians. So how did all those experiences, talking about kind of evolving and shaping from one place to the other in that specific album, how did it kind of evolve from its initial concept to its final form?
Yeah, some of the music on that had been, I had a totally different vision for the instrumental tracks that are on that Labor of Lust album. Were all going to be a part of a thing I was going to do where it was going to be, an A side of acoustic songs and a B side of the same songs, but with like an electric treatment, psychedelic treatment, kind of like what I was just talking about, like the two ways that I was going to do a Station Inn version of the song. And for folks who don't know about the Station Inn, it's like the most famous bluegrass venue in Nashville. Got a real long history, so that makes it kind of the most famous bluegrass venue in the world. So I was going to have a station in version of the tunes, and then a Winter Wondergrass version of the tunes, and so some of that material ended up just making it onto this record. Like you said, I went through a lot of personal stuff, getting a divorce and losing Jeff kind of around the same time. So a lot of the lyrical content, subject matter is a little bit heavy, and it just is sort of me dealing with all that stuff, but then there's also plenty of like really silly stuff on that record too, because during the COVID times when everyone was sort of locked down, once we were locked down in our houses, once we were locked down in the houses, then like the stir crazy creative aspect came out. For a lot of people, a lot of creative people were just like writing all the time. And for me, the stuff that came out of COVID was like pretty goofy, which was a nice change from maybe that was a reactionary for me because I was evolving, and that's what I needed to do was to laugh, But I'd say that's kind of like the three part. There's like the instrumental stuff from like back recorded 2018, back when I was still in Jeff's band. Some of the members of Jeff's band were on those sessions with me, and then Max Johnson was playing bass at the time in Jeff's band, and he plays a bunch of bass on the instrumental stuff. Yeah, then you got all that sad death and divorce stuff, and then you got all the goofy lockup stuff, so it's the music. It took me about 5 years to make the record, maybe 4 years to make the record, so it's a pretty good picture of what my life was like for those 4 years, I guess.
Yeah, big 4 years. And one constant for you, though, has always been being part of the Winter Wondergrass family, and Winter Wondergrass coming up February 28th through March 2nd. For you, I mean, I've always described it from the sidelines. It's kind of like a family reunion, it seems like, from the production team to the musicians to even the spectators every year coming back to this event. What does this festival mean to you?
That's a good way of putting it, Eli. It's like a family reunion. It really is, and I could tell the very first time I went. The first time I did it was 2017, so it had already been going on for a few years, and their publicity is so good, that I've been seeing lots of pictures of it for a couple of years and be like, man, I really want to do that. And the first time I went to it, I could tell that it was like a family reunion vibe for all the people there, all the crew, all the bands. I was like, man, everyone's just hanging out with each other, and they all obviously know each other really well, And I was in Jeff's band at the time, 2017, and that was back when there was Winter Wondergrass Vermont. So we did, I think he only did it for 1 year maybe, but we did all three that year, the Vermont and the Steamboat and Tahoe. And so it was a really cool dive right in. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, my first time I get to go, and I got to go to all three for the year, and then and there's so many friends bands that are there that it just sort of naturally created that kind of environment for me, where it's like, okay, well, now that I'm done with Jeff's set, the Dusters are playing, I'm gonna go hop up and play one over there. Leftover Salmon's playing, I'm gonna go hop up and play one over there, so that's kind of just always been a part of what I really hoped I could get out of Winter Wondergrass, having seen it, and they're just, Scotty's so great, and the whole thing is so supportive. So.
Yeah, and you just spoke to one of the interesting things that I see at Winter Wondergrass is all these musicians just kind of hopping onto stage with other musicians that are their friends. And I've always wondered, I mean, I happened to be side stage, I think last year. Lindsay Lou was there about to hop on stage with somebody and was handed the lyric sheet as she was heading out there, and had it in her hand as she's singing. And so how much of that is improvised versus planned? How do you approach collaborating with these musicians in that kind of spontaneous setting?
It's mostly spontaneous. And like I said, so like, that was sort of something that I was trying to do there, and that we all just are that way. All the musicians in these bands, you know, have all known each other. A lot of us have known each other for a really long time, and so it's really easy for us to say, "Hey, you want to hop up on this one, or you want me to hop up on that one, or whatever," you know. And it might be as easy as, like you said, seeing Lindsay get the lyric sheet on the way to the stage, like as walking on stage. You know, it's really organic. I think the word would be that it's really organic and typically really natural feeling when everyone's doing that, for the artists, for the bands, right? Who are doing that. Because if it was forced, it would be like, man, we're already out here in the freaking snow. Like, what are we gonna do? Add some person to the show that's never even been in the show, and bring him out? That also sounds crazy, but you know, it's sort of the spirit of the event, and a lot of these bands have really good long built histories together, which makes that kind of thing all easier, you know.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like sometimes it's like, oh hey, I remember the last time you were with us at this some other festival, we did this song together, let's do that one together again, because that's a natural thing that happens, you know. But then there's a lot of like, you know, hey, we're busting this one out for the first time today, and there's the perfect part for you on it if you want to come out here and do it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, and to that end, you're listed as a special guest at this year's Winter Wondergrass. So what can attendees expect to see from you? Are you going to have your own sets, or is it mostly going to be kind of hopping on stage and collaborating with other musicians?
it looks like for me this year, it's going to be mostly hopping on stage and collaborating. I was actually just looking at the schedule for the first time this morning. There's some like River Wondergrass all-star sets, you know, that's gonna surely feature Tyler Grant and Lindsay Lou and myself, and you know, I think John Stickley is artist at large, is another special guest, or artist at large, or whatever they're calling it. So you know, that'll be I'll be a part of stuff like that. I'll be hopping up with a bunch of different people. I don't think I have a set. I don't think me and Lindsay have a set or anything like that. But man, you never freaking know. I'm ready for it. If we do, I'll hop up and do it. So
Yeah,
you know.
you're one of the few men that I've seen invited onto the Winter Wonder Women stage too. You're an honorary Winter Wonder Woman too sometimes. So, you never know what's going to happen at that festival. It's always one of the fun aspects of it. So,
Yep.
I want to thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you here at Winter Wondergrass in just a little over a month now. So, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Eli. I appreciate you.